Targar friends. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today is Dynamic Effort Squat and Deadlift Day. Squats went good. I did some stuff slightly different on the deadlift today, and we'll have plenty of time to cover that in this. You guys will notice this video is a little shorter than my normal dynamic days. I didn't do as many box jumps on camera because I adjusted some stuff with it, went heavier. Had messed around with the 30-inch jumps and realized that's going to be a problem inside. Because I hit my head on the ceiling when I tried to stand up. So it's not workable. So I adjusted it and ended up only doing 3 real work sets because I was fatigued at that point. But we'll get to that in a minute. Speed squats. Today we went 50% bar weight with 25% bands. Actually a hair over 25. I think it's basically 5 pounds over, but it's the closest math I have with the bands that I have. And I'm willing to work with that. And I would rather have a little more band tension than not enough. But yeah, the speed squats went good. Pretty good speed. It started off a little slower than I like. It took me a minute to get my stance, but they're definitely coming along, and I know that my squats in general have improved. So no problem there. Everything's going good. No real complaints. These were not particularly fatiguing today. You know, took nice short breaks, no more than a minute and a half between, maybe less. Some of them are less, definitely. But did 12 doubles at 50% plus 25% bands. So for people who ask what I mean by the percentages, that's my 1 rep max. The heaviest box squat you guys see me squat off of that box is 502 recently, right? 502 on a raw squat. So 50% of 502 is about 251. So for band tension, 25% of that would be 125 pounds. Well, I have 130 on there because I'm running a pair of hundreds or 100 band combo and a 30 band combo. It's just 130 pounds of tension. And that's what's been beautiful with the Rogue bands. I found that they are very, very, very accurate. Like when I took my digital scale and measured the Rogue bands, unlike some companies who say this is what our bands measure, they were all within 1 pound. They are in 1 pound, so I got to give them credit for that. Yes, they cost a few dollars extra, but they are very, very consistent. They've been very consistent when I measured them. So, you know, you pay a couple dollars more for a band set, but that consistency seems worth it to me. And it's the same thing when I pull them over for a deadlift. What I found, if I pull them tight enough to where there's a hair of tension when the deadlift is on the floor, because they're pulled over long ways, they are all 50% heavier than the advertised long distance. So a band set that measures 100 pounds total, so 50 on each side, when I run the same band over the top of a deadlift across any sort of setup, I find that it's exactly 50% heavier than that. You know, give or take 0.5%. So I think it was something like when I measured it, it was right at like 74.8 or something like that, right at the top of where my lockout was. If I recall, I wrote it down, but it was less than a pound off, you know, of exactly 50% over. So again, such a consistent company. As I said, I've been happy with their stuff, and the majority of my gym is Rogue. I've been happy with it. But these were fairly fast. Obviously, we always want them to be faster, but they're fairly fast. So what people have to remember is that you're fighting against the deceleration at the top of bands. So if you get speed at the top, that's great, especially when you start running a lot of band tension. Because 25% of your maxes, that's a lot of band tension, guys. That is a lot of band tension. And anyone who's messed with bands knows exactly what I'm talking about. Of course, I apologize for the noise. It's going to be really, really windy out there right now. There's a kind of a bit of a storm front coming through, loud winds. You know, it is what it is. We're just going to get through this voiceover, though, and get this up. But yeah, this was the heaviest week in my wave because a lot of people say, what are you doing for percentages these days? I'm finding to run 40, 45, 50 within 25% accommodation. Has really given me good bar speeds. Overall, it's allowed me to be very explosive on stuff. Yeah. Of course, I had a guy joke the other day and say, why do you do a lat spread after you get out from under the bar every time? Guys, I can't not do lat spreads. You guys have seen my back when I do pull-ups and stuff. You've seen me when I get under barbells from behind. It's just unavoidable. I just have a lot of back. I may not have everything perfectly developed, and I may not look like a bodybuilder, not that I want to, but I have a back. And so what happens for me when I get out from under that heavy bar, I just kind of want to spread out and stretch a little bit. It just kind of, it feels good. It feels good to just kind of stretch out and loosen up after that. So, you know, it is what it is. At least I have lats though. I got lats and quads. I may not have the best arms. I got lats and quads though. But you know, those are go muscles instead of show muscles. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting with the squats when I see where my next box squat is again. And it's going to be a little while, you know, as far as the raw squat goes. It's going to be a little while. But it should be good. And people keep asking, when are you going to see where your normal squat is? I don't even care right now, right? I don't care. I'm just getting strong again. You know, when I can box squat consistently 550 to 600 pounds, then I'll worry about it. But in the meantime, I'm going to just keep doing them as different max versions. I'm going to keep doing them as my speed work on the boxes, and you know, we'll just see where it all goes. I don't even set strength goals anymore. Do you know why? Because I just want to get as strong as possible on everything. I want to be as strong and as fast and explosive as possible. Keep working on my body composition, and you know, a lot of people know that it's improved a lot. You know, gain muscle, lose fat, get strong, get explosive, get athletic, get conditioned. You know, and we weave it all into this program. And that's what I love about this system of training. You know, people don't understand this. This is something I have to explain even with my clients when they ask about this training system. This is not a powerlifting system. It is a system designed by one of the greatest powerlifting coaches of all time using data from a variety of sports. It happens to be an all-around athletic program that just happens to, because it makes you brutally strong, makes you good at powerlifting. Because all powerlifting is a test of strength. That's literally all powerlifting is. It's a test of brute strength as a collective sport of the total. So this program makes you brutally strong and explosive, or this system does when done correctly. So it makes you good at any sport that you happen to be undertaking that needs you to be strong and explosive. It's pretty straightforward, and powerlifting happens to be one of those sports that benefits from it. Sumo deadlifts, you guys will notice I'm actually doing a lot of what I even talked about on my grip and rip video, saying, you know what, the grip and rip has its perks, but it's hard to do with a hook grip, and that's true. But there's still some good cues I gave in there for mixed grip that I can apply here, so that's what I'm doing. The other thing you guys notice, I'm not using the band pegs the same way. I've got my farmer's walk handle still loaded up, pulled out in front, and then I am using the band pegs off the front. Why? I can't get my feet out wide enough, right? I can't get my feet out wide enough to really sumo the way I'd like to. Notice how much more my toes are out, knees are out, wider stance. Works so much better. And then I'm not worried about hitting the uprights and causing an issue. I notice I can lock it harder. It's a cleaner pull. And also, since I'm just squatting down to it and I'm trying not to really look down, I'm trying not to use my premotor unit slack, I want to just pull into a position, because that system works great for me when I was a conventional puller, right? The sumo deadlift is a different beast. And really structurally, I should be pretty good at sumo, but I haven't surpassed really my conventional with it. And I do need to kind of take that into account, of that premotor unit slack technique I've always used on the conventional deadlift may not be the way to go for sumo. And since I'm really doing a lot of this sumo, I need to do the sumo really the way the sumo is intended to be done, and the way I know to do it, which means we need to keep that torso upright, need to keep our head up, and instead I just need to pull myself into position, get into the right position, set my hook, and just stand up, right? Just stand up. And notice it's a nice, pretty smooth pull. And I think next time I start testing some max work on sumo variations, I think practicing that on the speed work is going to help. Plus the hook grip is holding really, really good today. I'm getting better at hook gripping because I've been practicing it, and so therefore I don't really need to be looking at where my hands are going. Look, put your arms straight down. Wherever that happens to be is where you happen to grip the bar. Does it matter? If your feet are centered, you shouldn't need to see markings to know that your hands are in the center of the bar. Your feet are centered and you reach straight down, you're going to be gripping the bar evenly. Straight down, arms down. So even I'm not even looking down. And normally I look down so I can set the hook grip, right? No, you got to just learn to reach down and just set the hook. Get into position, squat down, set your hook, that hand over the thumb, stay tight, just stand up. right? Just stand up, explode as hard as we can. Now, I'm not always super fast on these against the hard bands, but this is also a new technique. Sometimes I have been, but I feel like, again, this technique is a lot cleaner. I notice I can pull it against it harder at the top and lock it really good with a nice wide stance, with the torso up more, not having to worry about hitting those uprights. So it is following through on the lockout better. So I think with some practice on this, a wave or two of this, doing it this way, and I think the sumo is just going to carry over tremendously to the technique. So when I do attempt an actual sumo deadlift again for a max, I have a feeling it's going to go up a lot. Plus I'm doing all the extra grip work. We know my grip was my weak link last time on it in spite of the hook. I've been doing a lot of grip work lately now, adding it in, making sure I'm prioritizing it. I had hoped the farmer's walks would handle it all, but they're not. So I've gone back to actually doing grip work. And I think that extra grip work combined with this technique, I think it's going to be a real winner. It's going to be a real winner when we come back around to test it again. Not that it's going to be for just a little while, because I'm going to do all the variations, right? Max effort work, you guys know how it works. We do a lot of almost random exercises, you know, with a pattern in place, and we just try to PR all the time. So I need to go back to PRing all the time on everything to, again, get in the mindset of always PRing, always improving, always winning. That is an essential component to the psychology of this system. It's essential. Of course, you guys will notice when I get to the box jumps here in a minute, I jumped up on my 30-inch box, but what I found is that I can't stand up. And I even said, okay, maybe I'm just barely hitting the top, so I took it down off the platform and put it on the floor, right? Because the platform is a couple inches tall. And I took my boots off and I jumped up and tried to stand up, and I still hit my head on the ceiling. So I lose the extension at the top. And as much as I'd love to jump on the taller box, it's like I'm hitting my head and I'm losing the extension, right? I'm losing that little front squat I get to do with the weight. So instead I ended up going to my heavier kettlebell and doing a 3x3, which you guys will see. I do a 3x3. And I almost trip up on the last rep. So after doing the other jump work on the taller box, a couple of reps and playing around with it, I got a little fatigued. Then using the heaviest weight I've ever used on box jumps on the 24-inch box, it just ended up being all that I had. Really, I only got 3 quality sets in after that. And if that's all we can do, that's all we can do. If we're losing power, then we're losing power, and therefore there's no point going on, right? We'll get to that back in a minute. But 20 singles today on this. And for those trying to figure out the band tension, that's 150 pounds of band tension, right? 150. Because it's normally 100-pound bands, but when you pull them over that way, long ways that way over something, it goes up 50%. At least when I have measured it. I'm not sure if anyone wants to do the math of the physics behind it, but that's what my digital scale has measured it at. And I've measured it on a couple different bands, both the 100-pound set and the 50-pound set, and it was identical for both. It was the same carryover. It was a 50% increase over advertised weight. So that's basically 150 at the lockout. But again, the technique feels a little cleaner. It takes a little getting used to, and being able to get out a little wider feels better, right? It feels a little better because that's the way a sumo is supposed to be done. But yeah, happy with them. Thumbs are a little tender after 20 speed pulls a day against the bands, but there's no blistering. So that's a good thing. There's no blistering happening, even though they're a little tender, which tells me the skin is continuing to toughen up. So if that skin keeps toughening up again at this rate, it's going, and I do the extra grip work I'm doing, and all the chin-ups all the time. The farmer's walks are one thing, but the amount of chin-ups I do every day is getting pretty high. Grip should be coming along to where grip is not going to be a limiting factor. I feel like this technique gives a little better leverages of what I'm practicing here, and that will carry over, what I'm doing with the speed work will carry over to the maxes, because it's going to have a better bar path to where things like my back could be less of a limiting factor. Grip becomes less of a limiting factor, and I'm able to just explode through it, hoping to get that sumo up so that we set a real PR instead of little micro PRs like we've done. Right? Needed to happen, needed to go up. Because realistically, at any given time, my sumo deadlift should be at least, it should be 10% more than my box squat, if not more. It needs to be more than 10% more. But that should be the bare minimum. So anytime, like if I come over and hit a 500 box squat on a low box like that, I need to be able to walk over and sumo at least 550. Now, some people would argue that the box squat should be 10% less than your squat. So arguably, it should be as high as 15 to 20% more than my box squat. But that would be a lot. I mean, we're talking about over 600 deadlift at this point on the sumo. And that's where I need to be. Don't get me wrong, I need to get there. I don't think I'm over 600 right now on the sumo, realistically speaking, even with better leverages. So we do have some work to do there, but a lot of it is again, just getting the position good like this. A lot of it is just getting my grip stronger. Because like with everything else, what is powerlifting? It's a test of brute strength. Nothing more, nothing less. Well, grip is part of your brute strength. That's one of the lifts that's affected. So then I did these today. This is my 40-pound kettlebell. And that's why I have to use a 24 instead of 30. I want to get that extension. I want to get that extension right there at the top. Because that's kind of critical for really getting a lot of benefit. I'm getting good front squat out of it. To go ahead and stand up with it. And if I want to use a 30-inch box, I can't do that. I can't do that. The dang ceiling's too low. Unfortunately. Maybe I'll start doing it eventually and just not stand up. But I can stand up on this one, so we're fine. So it ended up just being a 3x3. So I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.